Hey, welcome to GoKoders. So in this video, we'll show you how to install and set up Spring Framework 5 development environment. So before we actually get going and start working on the setup and installation process, I'll just switch to the slides and provide you some important information. So there are several options that you can go for while setting up Spring Framework development environment. Option 1 is Spring Tool Suite. Now, you had a brief look at Spring Tool Suite or STS in the previous video if you happen to see the playlist. And using Spring Tool Suite, the minimum or mandatory option is that it requires Jdk 1.8 or higher. Now Oracle has progressed quite further. The Jdk is now available in version 15. The second option, as you can see in the middle, is using Eclipse. Now remember that STS is actually built on top of Eclipse. However, STS is customized for a Spring Framework development environment. On the other hand, Eclipse is more a general IDE, and you can still use Eclipse to do development work in Spring Framework 5. Now, to do that, you need at the minimum Jdk, and you need to install the STS plugin for Eclipse. The third option, as you can see on the far right, is using Spring Boot CLI. And CLI stands for Command Line Environment. And for this, we need, as usual, Jdk and a build tool, either Maven or Gradle. We'll not be covering Gradle in this video, and we'll be using Maven, but it's good to know that you can use Gradle as a build tool for development work with Spring Framework. So the first three options I showed you in the previous slide are the things that we'll cover in this video. However, I would like to mention the alternative popular IDE options for development environments related to Spring Framework 5. So the first is Intellij Id, that is from JetBrains. Now a few things about Intellij Id. If you want to use Intellij Id for Spring Framework development environment, you need to use the Ultimate Edition, which is a paid tool, by the way. Intellij Id also has a community edition, but it doesn't support development with Spring Framework. The Ultimate Edition comes with a free 30-day evaluation, and the students and open source developers can also apply for a free license for Ultimate Edition. Okay, now Intellij Id out. The second option is JDeveloper. Now JDeveloper is a freeware IDE from Oracle. And the third option is Netbeans. I have not used Netbeans or JDeveloper for a long time. Maybe 10 years ago I used them. But Netbeans is definitely an alternative tool for doing Spring Framework 5 development. And Netbeans comes from Apache Software Foundation. Now let's head over to the browser and have a brief look at the websites related to these three tools. So here I'm in my browser. So let's do a quick Google for Intellij Id, and here is Intellij Id. If we just click on this link, you can see the Intellij Id website. At the top in the address bar, you can see jetbeans.com/idea. You can go to the page if you are interested to do development using Intellij Id. However, we'll be covering STS or Spring Tool Suite in detail and not this tool. The other idea, as I said you, is JDeveloper. So let's Google for that. So the developer, JDeveloper, right? So JDeveloper, and here is a page for Oracle JDeveloper. So if you want to do development work using JDeveloper, you can go to this page. You'll get all the information and of course the installation bundles. The other IDE, as I said, is Netbeans. So let's type Netbeans, and here you can see the Netbeans website. Let's click on Welcome to Netbeans, and here you can see Netbeans is from Apache Software Foundation, and you can use this ID as well for Spring Framework 5 development. Okay, now in this video we'll be visiting several websites and their web pages, and don't worry that I'll provide all the links related to these web pages in the description below. We did talk about several IDs, but in this video and in the subsequent videos in the tutorial series, we'll be using STE or Spring Tool Suite. However, if you're interested in using any other IDEs, you can use, because all the source code that we'll be coding are IDE agnostic, means it will work equally in all the IDEs. Now let's talk about Jdk installation. I'll just close all these tabs and simply open Google, and here we'll just type Java Jdk download, right? And we get the proper link, oracle.com. So you're talking about Oracle Jdk first. So here is the web page related to Oracle Jdk. So you can download directly from here. You get the latest one. So you can see that Java AC or the standard edition 50 is the latest release for the Java AC platform. So if you don't have Jdk already installed, please download Jdk, Oracle Jdk from this web page. I have already downloaded and installed Java AC 15.0.2. Now remember one thing is that Oracle Jdk you can definitely download, install and do all kinds of development work. However, if your development work is related to commercial purpose, for example, you're working for a company or an enterprise, then you need the commercial license to work with Oracle Jdk. However, you can use another breed of Jdk which is called Open Jdk, which can be used both for open source and commercial as well as any kind of experimental development work using Java. So let's have a look at Open Jdk. So I'll just open a tab, I'll Google and I'll type Open Jdk download. So Open Jdk download. So here you have it, and here you have a couple of links. I'll just open them. This is download and install. I'll right click and open in new tab. So let's see the first one. Let's see this one. So here is the Open Jdk official page, openjdk.java.net. As you can see in the address bar at the top, so you get information about Open Jdk. However, if you want to download and install, you need to go to this page. Here it says how to download and install pre-built Open Jdk packages. Now this gives mainly the installation directions and guidelines. So here is a page jdk.java.net/15. So here you can see Jdk 15.0.2. So you will get all the releases of Open Jdk. So here it is available for Linux, Arch Linux, Linux 64-bit, Mac OS X 64-bit and Windows 64-bit. Now an important point here, you might have a question in mind whether to use Open Jdk or Oracle Jdk. Now as I said previously, Oracle Jdk you can definitely download and do your development work with it. But remember that you can do enterprise related work or commercial work only if you have the commercial release. But Open Jdk you can use it both for commercial and non-commercial purposes. So if you want to know more about Open Jdk versus Oracle Jdk, you can visit this webpage which I'll show you shortly. So if you visit this link, as you can see in the address bar at the top, openlogic.com/blog/Java experts Open Jdk versus Oracle Jdk. So this particular web page here, you can see detailed discussion about Open Jdk versus Oracle Jdk, what the Java experts have to say, and you can decide what Jdk bundle you want to install for your development purpose. But I would not rather confuse you. I would rather say that go ahead with Oracle Jdk or Open Jdk if you are doing non-commercial work. Performance wise, usually Oracle Jdk is preferred by industry experts, but for development purpose you can use any one of them. So I have shown you the places from where you need to install and download Jdk, whether it is Oracle Jdk or open JDK, just go ahead and download and install it. The installation process is very much simple. I'm quite sure you already know Java. That's why you are watching the Spring videos. So I'll just now go to my installation folder of JDK. So here I am in the installation folder of JDK. So you can see I have the latest version, JDK 15.0.2. So if I click on this, you can see the folders and files over here. So what you need to do now, two things. I'll just explain all those things in a slide. You can watch this path, which is C program files Java JDK 15.0.2. So you need to set this as Java home environment variable, Java underscore home. And if you click on the bin, then this entire path, you need to set it, or rather append to the path variable in Windows. So let's head over to the slide and have a brief look at the summary of setting up JDK. So here we are in the summary of JDK installation to-dos, the task checklist. So the JDK installation path for me is C program files Java JDK 13.0, and actually I have updated it to 15.0.1. So wherever you have chosen to install your Java JDK, you need to just copy the root folder of the JDK as your installation path. Next, we need to add the Java underscore home environment variable. So just go to control panel system and add this environment variable, and the value has to be the path you have copied. For you, it can be something like f:/programs Java JDK 15.02. Whatever it is, just copy the path and add it to Java home variable value. And next, you need to modify the path variable. So again, you need to go control panel system, and then you need to copy the path of the bin folder and append to the path variable. So that's it. That should be the end of your JDK installation. So the next step is to verify your JDK installation. So you need to open a command prompt or the CMD window and just run the command java-version. So let's do that. So here I've opened the command prompt and I'll type java-version. So that was a typo, and here you can see Java version 15.02. For me, you can have a different version and a more updated one depending on what time you're watching this video. So that is the end of our JDK installation discussion. Now we'll show you how to set up and install STS, or the Spring Tool Suite. So here I'm in the browser and I'll type spring.io. So it has already come up, and here I am in spring.io website. We need to download the STS installation bundle, and here I'll go to projects, and here you can see development tools, Spring Tools 4. And let's scroll down, and here you can see Spring Tools 4 for Eclipse. Now Eclipse is a name that you can see because, as I told you, I'm repeating it once again, that Spring Tool Suite is built on top of Eclipse. So the look and feel is very much similar to Eclipse. So here you get 4.9.0 is the latest version, and you can get it for Linux 64-bit, Mac OS 64-bit, and Windows 64-bit. In this video, we'll be installing STS for Windows 10. Now I have already downloaded Spring Tool Suite. You can download it for yourself. You'll get a self-extracting jar. You need to extract the jar and then just get it installed in a folder of your choice. Now let me show you my local STS installation. So here you can see I'm in the path C users HP PC. That's the name of my PC, and if I select this folder, you can see STS 4.9.0 release. If I just click on this, you can see all the folders and files for this installation. What you need to do is you need to simply double click on Spring Tool Suite 4.exe file, and your STS will launch. So let's launch Spring Tool Suite 4. So here Spring Tool Suite has launched. So you can see the program already over there, which we discussed and ran in our previous video. So this is Spring Tool Suite, so you're already familiar with the look and feel of it. Now I'll just briefly cover here because we'll be doing a lot of coding and development work using this tool. But just to repeat, you can just go to File, New, and just either select Spring Starter Project or import Spring Getting Started content. For creating project, you'll be usually clicking on New and Spring Starter Project. So if I click on the Spring Starter Project, you can see the new Spring Starter Project wizard opens, and you have the service URL start.spring.io from where you will download the basic Spring project structure. I don't think I'll be discussing anything more at this point related to Spring Tool Suite, since we'll cover this tool in great detail in subsequent videos. In our next video, we'll be covering Eclipse and Spring Boot CLI development and setup. If you are enjoying videos from the GoKoders channel, please subscribe to this channel and like the videos so that it helps other developers and users to find the videos and learn Spring framework. Okay, before I end this video, I just want to show you one thing: how to set up environment variables. Now, if you're a beginner to Java, this might be helpful. If you are not, then you can skip this part. So let's go to Windows Search and search for Control Panel. So this will open the Control Panel and we'll be looking for System. So here is a System link. Let's click on it. Then you have the Advanced System Settings on the left. And when you click on it, we get something at the bottom, which is Environment Variables. So when this dialog opens, you can see at the top user variables for Bibhosh. I am the user Bibhosh, and below is the system variables. When you add variables and make changes, those will be reflected to all users using this particular PC. But if you want to restrict to a particular user, then you need to add the changes at the top. So let's say we are using system variables. When you click on this, you can simply add the variable name and the variable value. For example, if you are adding the Java home variable, then you can type Java_home in the variable name field, and in the variable value you can put the entire path to the root JDK folder. So this is a way you can add system variables. And finally, if you want to edit any particular variable, let's say you want to modify the path variable, so you click on the path variable here, you can see then you simply click edit, and then you click new, and then you append the path which you want to change. So let's say you want to add the path to the bin folder of JDK, so you simply copy it from Windows Explorer and paste the path here, and then simply click OK. Now, since I am not making any changes, I'll simply click cancel and exit. So that's it for the environment variables.